This is the Ears Up English podcast. English that grows with you. Welcome to Ears Up English, where your listening becomes stronger and your speaking becomes smoother. If English still feels scary or stressful for you, don't worry. We're here to help you enjoy English without fear. Strong ears, strong English. Now, let's begin today's episode.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Robert. Thanks for joining us today on Ears Up English.
Hey, Robert. How are you today?
I'm okay, I guess. I've been hearing a lot of news about layoffs recently, so it's kind of been on my mind.
Yeah, that happens. In Japan, too, people often say things like, foreign companies fire people so easily, or Americans get fired really quickly, you know? That image is really strong.
Exactly. And my Japanese friends often ask me, do Americans really get fired that easily? Is it really that harsh?
Today's topic is exactly that. Is it true that Americans get fired all the time? How is being let go different in Japan and overseas?
The title is pretty strong, right? It sounds like a scary topic. But actually, when you understand the systems and culture behind it, there are a lot of, I see, that's how it works kind of discoveries.
Right. So today, we'll talk about the reality of getting fired in America, how it's different from Japan, and also a little bit about Europe and other countries. We'll go through it slowly and clearly.
And today's English phrase is, we're going in a different direction.
If you take it word for word, it just sounds like they're talking about changing course or choosing another path. But in business situations, it often means we're not going forward with you or we're not choosing you this time. It's actually a pretty soft way to say no, right?
Yeah, that's right. You see it in job rejection emails or when a company decides not to renew a contract. It's a very American-style phrase that lets you say something harsh in a softer way.
Today, we'll introduce this phrase naturally while talking about firing and being let go. Okay, let's jump into the main talk. First, we should sort out the difference between the Japanese word kubi, which means being fired, and the English words, right?
Yeah. In Japanese, when the company makes you leave, people usually just say kubi for almost everything. But in English, there are at least two big categories.
The first one is fired. This is when you're let go because of your own mistakes or behavior, like you have to leave because of what you did.
Exactly. Things like you're not doing your job well, you broke the rules, your attitude is bad, you caused damage to the company. Fired has a strong feeling of it's your fault.
The second one is laid off. This is when the company lets people go for company reasons, like bad economy, restructuring, cost cuts.
Right. So when you say, I got fired, people think, oh, you did something wrong. But if you say, I got laid off, they understand, oh, the company was in a tough situation. In Japanese, both situations are usually described as kubi or maybe ristora, restructuring, so they often get mixed together.
So when people say Americans get fired so easily, a lot of the time what they're really talking about is there are a lot of company-driven layoffs in America.
Yeah, that's our first big, surprising point. Even if it all becomes kubi in Japanese, in English there are different categories.
The next point is this. Instead of America is a country where you get fired quickly, it's more like America is a country where you get hired quickly and change jobs quickly.
In Japan, becoming a full-time employee is really hard. And once you get that job, the normal idea is stay as long as you can. People are still pretty careful about changing jobs.
Right. In the U.S., the in and out of jobs is much more active. There are lots of openings, changing jobs is normal, headhunters contact you, people move around more.
So losing a job doesn't always mean my life is over. It can also mean things like, oh, okay, I'll look for my next job. Maybe this is my chance to change my career.
Of course, it depends on the person, but compared to Japan, the whole system is much more flexible. It has pros and cons. There are more new chances, but there's less of that one company protects you for life feeling.
From Japan, that's pretty surprising, right? Yes, the risk of losing your job is higher, but in return, the job market is very active.
So, what about Japan? Legally speaking, Japan is a country where it's actually quite difficult to fire someone, right?
Yeah, companies can't easily say, from tomorrow, don't come to the office. Instead, they often take a long time and try different ways to move people around.
For example, transferring someone to another department, sending them to a subsidiary or related company, slowly reducing their tasks and kind of pushing them to quit on their own. This is sometimes called a soft firing culture.
Right. On the surface, it's not firing, but from the person's point of view, it can feel like there's no place for me anymore, or I feel this silent message that they want me to leave.
That's also very stressful because nobody says it clearly. The person can feel stuck in a fog for a long time.
In contrast, in the US, they might call you in and say something like, we need to talk, and then explain the situation directly. It's a big shock, but in a way it's clear.
So both sides are tough, but in a different way. This is where today's phrase comes in. We're going in a different direction.
Right. The company uses this phrase when they want to say, we're not going forward with you anymore, but in kind of an indirect, softer way.
For example, in a rejection email after an interview, you might see, we're going in a different direction. That basically means we didn't choose you this time.
It can be used when they decide not to renew a contract, when they change the members of a project, or when they stop working with a client. Instead of saying, you are the problem, they say, our direction changed.
There are other soft phrases too, like, it's not a good fit, or we've decided to move on.
The content is actually pretty tough, but the wording is soft and businesslike. That gap feels very American.
In Japan, being fired often feels like a dark mark on your life history. But in the US, it's a bit different, right?
Yeah. For example, in a self-introduction, someone might say, I got laid off last year and then I moved to my current company. They just say it casually.
So being fired equals you're a bad person is not such a strong image there.
Especially when it's laid off, people usually think, oh, the economy was bad, the company had to cut costs, so they don't automatically blame the person.
Of course, people still feel sad and shocked, but many Americans have this attitude like, well, it's America. These things happen.
That's another surprising point when you look from Japan.
But to be honest, American firings sometimes look like a scene from a drama, right?
Yeah, for sure. In some companies, the moment they tell you you're let go, they might cut off your computer access right away, ask you to hand in your ID card on the spot, or have a security person escort you from your desk to the exit. It really does feel like something from a movie or TV show.
There are reasons for that, though. To stop people from taking confidential data, to prevent emotional people from causing trouble in the office.
In Japan, you don't see this kind of thing very often, but in the US, it's considered part of risk management.
Another surprising thing is that in the US, some companies give managers termination interview training.
Oh yeah, that's right. They practice how to tell someone they're being let go.
They also learn in detail what they must not say. For example, anything that could sound like discrimination or comments about age or gender, those are absolutely not allowed.
So they train managers in order to avoid lawsuits, protect the company from legal risk.
Exactly. Phrases like, we're going in a different direction, are sometimes part of that training, ways of speaking that don't directly attack the person.
In Japan, I don't think many companies do such detailed how to fire someone training yet, partly because, as we said, they don't usually say you're fired directly.
So far, we've mostly talked about Japan and the US, but the world is bigger than that, right?
Yeah, for example, in countries like France or Germany, workers are often very strongly protected.
In some of those countries, you need very detailed procedures and clear reasons to fire someone. Labor unions are strong. Companies can't easily reduce staff.
So if we tried to make a how easy is it to fire people ranking, it wouldn't be as simple as America is number 1, Japan is number 2.
Each country has its own style of protection, right? US, more flexible movement, but weaker protection. Europe, very strong protection in many places. Japan, strict laws, but also these soft firing practices in the real world.
When you look at it this way, it's not that America is uniquely scary. It's more like every country has its own mix of good and bad points.
We also shouldn't forget about one more group, foreigners working in America.
Right. For American citizens, losing a job often means, okay, I need to find another job. But for people working on a visa, it can be much more serious.
For example, their work visa is tied to the company. If they lose the job, the visa might expire soon. That could mean they have to leave the country.
Also, in the US, many people get health insurance through their employer. So losing your job can mean losing your health insurance too.
So getting fired doesn't have the same weight for everyone. For foreigners or immigrants, it can be a really heavy problem.
That's why if you want to work in the US, you shouldn't only think about salary, English level. You also need to understand what might happen to your visa and your insurance if you lose your job.
The last point is the idea of job security.
In Japan, there's still a strong idea that the company will protect me. Of course, it's changing, but many people still feel that being a full-time employee is safe.
Right. But in the US, many people start from the opposite idea. The company won't necessarily protect me.
So they try to reduce their own risk by continuing to build their skills, building a network so they can move to other jobs, and having side jobs or freelance work so they have multiple income sources.
The idea that it's dangerous to depend 100% on one company is pretty common there.
If you keep that in mind, then even if you hear something like, we're going in a different direction, it might be a little easier to think, okay, then I'll look for a new direction for myself too, instead of, my life is over.
Yeah, today's topic is a bit heavy, but if you understand the different ways of thinking, it can actually make you feel a bit less scared. Okay, from here, let's talk about how we can think about firing or being let go in a way that feels a little easier on our hearts.
The first thing is try not to translate everything as just kubi. In English, there are many different expressions like fired, let go for personal performance or behavior, laid off, let go for company reasons, contract ended, the contract period simply finished.
If you translate all of them into Japanese as kubi, they feel the same, but actually they're very different.
So when you're watching the news or an overseas drama, it can help to ask, was this person fired or were they laid off? Just that small difference can change how you feel about the situation.
The second point is to try to separate your feelings from the facts. Being fired equals I have zero value as a person is a belief that we can slowly start to let go of.
Of course, anyone would feel shocked or sad. That's totally normal. But it might help to think, the company made a business decision. Maybe I have things to improve, but my whole personality is not being rejected.
The third point is to use today's phrase as a way of thinking. We're going in a different direction.
On the surface, it means, we're not going forward with you this time. But if you flip it, it also means, I can choose my own direction too.
If the company says, we're going in a different direction, then you can say to yourself, okay, then I'll choose the direction that's right for me.
Exactly. Of course, real life is not that simple. But if you can see it as, this is a chance to rethink my direction, it might feel a little more positive.
When you learn this phrase, don't just memorize the meaning. Try to remember the mindset that comes with it too. That can give your heart a bit more protection.
Now, let's try to imagine everything we've talked about in a real conversation.
Next, we'll listen to a short dialogue between Ben and Gallery. Gallery applied for a foreign company in Japan, and she just received a rejection email.
In that email, you'll hear today's phrase, we're going in a different direction. Listen and imagine how she feels when she reads it, and how Ben explains the meaning. All right, let's listen to today's dialogue.
Hey, Kaori, you sighed pretty deeply just now. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just got an email from that foreign company I interviewed with. In the end, I didn't get the job.
Oh, I see. What did the email say?
It said, we're going in a different direction. I was really shocked. It kind of felt like, so I'm being rejected, right? I'm not good enough?
Yeah, I understand why you'd feel that way. But that phrase doesn't mean you're terrible or you're a bad person.
Really? It sounded like, we don't need you.
In reality, it's more like, this time we chose a different type of person. It's a pretty standard business phrase, just a kind of polite way to say no.
I see. But still, I feel pretty down.
Yeah, of course you do. But think about it this way. We're going in a different direction means the company chose its own direction, right?
Yeah?
Then you can choose your direction too. Like, okay, I'll look for a company that really fits me.
Ah, I kind of like that way of thinking. I actually feel a little lighter now.
And you know, foreign companies' hiring decisions often depend on timing, team situation, lots of small factors. We're going in a different direction is just a template phrase they use a lot.
So it doesn't automatically mean I'm the worst, right?
Not at all. In fact, the fact that you got to the interview stage means they saw something good in you.
Yeah, when you say it like that, I feel more confident again. Okay, I think I'll start looking for my next opportunity.
Nice. I like that attitude. Maybe the next company will be one that really wants to go in the same direction as you.
So, how is that? In this dialogue, you could see how the phrase, we're going in a different direction, actually appears in a rejection email and how it feels for the person receiving it.
At first, Calorie reacted like, am I being treated like I'm useless? She was really discouraged. That reaction is very understandable, especially if you have the kubi equals huge life event feeling we often see in Japan.
But Ben explained that it's more of a template-style business expression. It's less about, you are awful, and more about, we chose someone else this time.
That's the key point. We're going in a different direction is a very American-style phrase used to avoid attacking the person, keep things polite, but still communicate the final decision.
And in the end, Ben turned the meaning around in a more positive way. He said, if the company chose its direction, you can choose yours too.
That connects to the American idea of job security. Instead of expecting one company to protect you forever, you move with the flow and keep choosing your own path.
So if you ever receive a message like, we're going in a different direction, try to remember today's dialogue and think, this is about their direction. I can still choose mine.
Now, to deepen your understanding, let's listen to the dialogue one more time. This time, focus on the emotions and the nuance of the phrase.
Hey, Kaori, you sighed pretty deeply just now. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just got an email from that foreign company I interviewed with. In the end, I didn't get the job.
Oh, I see. What did the email say?
It said, "We're going in a different direction." I was really shocked. It kind of felt like, so I'm being rejected, right? I'm not good enough?
Yeah, I understand why you'd feel that way. But that phrase doesn't mean you're terrible or you're a bad person.
Really? It sounded like, we don't need you.
In reality, it's more like, this time we chose a different type of person. It's a pretty standard business phrase, just a kind of polite way to say no.
I see. But still, I feel pretty down.
Yeah, of course you do. But think about it this way. We're going in a different direction means the company chose its own direction, right?
Yeah?
Then you can choose your direction too. Like, okay, I'll look for a company that really fits me.
Ah, I kind of like that way of thinking. I actually feel a little lighter now.
And you know, foreign companies' hiring decisions often depend on timing, team situation, lots of small factors. We're going in a different direction is just a template phrase they use a lot.
So it doesn't automatically mean I'm the worst, right?
Not at all. In fact that you got to the interview stage means they saw something good in you.
Yeah, when you say it like that, I feel more confident again. Okay, I think I'll start looking for my next opportunity.
Nice. I like that attitude. Maybe the next company will be one that really wants to go in the same direction as you.
Okay, let's quickly review today's episode. We started with the question, is it true that Americans get fired all the time?
And we talked about the difference between fired and laid off, how the U.S. is more like hired and changing jobs quickly than just fired quickly, Japan's soft firing culture, the American style of using soft but serious phrases, European countries where it's even harder to fire people, and how losing a job can be a much bigger issue for foreigners because of visas and insurance.
And finally, the different ideas of job security.
And our key phrase today was, we're going in a different direction. That phrase means things like, we're not going forward with you this time. We've decided to choose a different person, and it's used a lot in business situations.
If you know this phrase, then when you read a rejection email, hear about a contract ending, are removed from a project, you can think, this is that standard phrase, and maybe stay a bit calmer.
And at the same time, when you hear, we're going in a different direction, you can also think, okay, then I'll go in the direction that's right for me.
Firing and layoffs are scary topics, but if you understand the language differences, the cultural differences, the mindset differences, it can feel just a little less scary.
We hope that today's episode helps you look at working abroad and the risks in your career from a slightly wider, more relaxed angle.
And from a language learning point of view, make sure to write down, we're going in a different direction. Practice saying it out loud a few times so it becomes shizan, more natural for you.
All right, everyone, that's today's episode of Ears Up English. Strong ears, strong English. Keep training your ears every day.
Try the phrase from today's episode and see how it changes your conversations. We'd love to hear how it works for you. And if you enjoy our podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a new episode. Join us again next time for more friendly, everyday English. Take care and keep your ears up. Bye!